Hi, I'm Lindsay with Ellie and Max Sewing Patterns. Today we're going to be sewing the Claudia Cubic Bag. This bag is so cool because it has a diagonal zip, it has this cool rectangular shape, has the handle, and when you open it opens up to this great space to carry anything from crafting supplies to kids' toys to snacks and food. You can do anything. So it has 3 sizes, small, medium, and large. But I really love it and I hope you do too. So let's get started. Here is what you're going to need to make the Claudia Cubic Bag. You'll need an interior and an exterior. You will need the side panels, exterior and interior. You will need fold over elastic or bias tape, or you can make your own bias binding. You'll need number 5 zipper tape, a 1/4 inch elastic, zipper pulls of your choice, 1 or 2, rivets if you plan to add rivets to your bag. There are 2 inner pocket options. They are completely optional. I cut out both, the elastic and the slide. I also cut out the straps. There is another option for fabric straps, but I'm going to be doing vinyl. It's important to interface your pattern pieces before you begin. If you're using a lightweight interior fabric, you will want to use fusible foam to give it more structure so it keeps its shape very nicely when it opens and when it closes. Because this is a quilted fabric that already has kind of that plush batting that you would get with a fusible foam, I didn't add that to this. I just used SF 101 by Pellin to add some structure to my bag. This is actually a pillowcase sham that my neighbor gifted me because she knew that I make all kinds of stuff, and she was right. This is perfect. This was the outer part of the sham and this was the back of the sham, and I just love it because it worked so well with this beautiful pink faux leather looking vinyl that I got. Is from Fabric Wholesale Direct. It's an excellent resource for bag making vinyl because you get large 1-yard sheets of this, and so if you have bigger pieces like I do, it fits the pattern pieces really well. So definitely recommend them. But you can also do what I did and reuse things. So this is, like I said, a pillowcase sham, and this was the back of it. So all kinds of fun ways that you can make bags. So after you have interfaced all the pieces that mention it, I did the sides, the main pieces, and I went ahead and interfaced my vinyl, even though you don't probably need to do that. I really wanted my bag to hold its structure. And I just used the lighter weight SF 101. And then on my pockets, my elastic pocket, I didn't interface, but my slide pocket I did. So you can kind of see the difference in how that works. Let's get to sewing. The first thing we're going to do is to prepare our elastic pocket for the inside. If you aren't using this pocket, you can skip ahead, but I'm just going to give it a gentle press all over, and then we're going to fold it in half like this, just aligning those marks, and we're going to just press it so we get a nice crisp press at this center fold. Then we're going to measure down 3/8 of an inch, and you can make a mark on each end if you want, and we're going to sew across to create a casing for our 1/4 inch or 1/4 inch elastic. To 3/8 of an inch, and you can make a mark. My sewing machine already has a good marking for different seam allowances, so I'm just going to use that on my machine. But if you feel better to make a line, go ahead and make it. Let's go sew this and we'll come back to the next step. All right, just line up your edge with your 3/8 of an inch seam allowance, back stitch, and now we're just going to sew straight across just to create that casing. Decide which side is your wrong side, and we're going to now treat these 2 layers as if they are one piece, okay? We are going to use a ruler or whatever you like to mark 3/8 of an inch on this long edge and the sides. Then, if you want, you can draw the line fully. I'm using a disappearing marker. If you have one of these hot ironing rulers, you can use that as well. I think they're kind of handy, and I do often use them. So this long line is the 1/4, so this little line is the 3/8 of an inch. But if you remember, I already did mark my line too, so I can just use my ruler and line it up like that. Now, with these folded edges away from us, we are going to fold the corner together like that, and then you can pin it or clip it, and we're going to go over and we're going to sew 3/8 of an inch seam allowance right here on both sides. So remember, these folded or pressed seams are to the back, and we're pressing with the front right sides together, and then we're going to sew with 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. So after you've done that, this is the wrong side, this is the right side, and you can see it's created those corners for us to have a little bit of like depth to our bag. So on this side, I want you to trim away the seam allowance down to 1/4 of an inch. It's just going to reduce bulk. I'm using pinking shears so that it doesn't fray. And then you're just going to press it to the inside like that. You can even give it a good press if you want. Okay, just like that. And you see how it adds a little bit of depth there? It's kind of cute, huh? Now we're going to insert our elastic up here. Cut 1/4 of an inch elastic, 3 inches shorter than my bag top. We're going to get a safety pin, clip it here, and just thread it through. I like to fold down my elastic when I'm putting it through with a safety pin, but you can do it how you like. It wouldn't matter if you did it just through the end. It just keeps it from flipping for me. You just choose one end. Okay. So you're just gonna, I just kind of push it through and make sure my elastic goes into the casing. Then you're just gonna kind of gather it and pull, push it through, gather and pull. Sometimes your safety pin will wanna like squish open, and then you have this pin stuck halfway through, and that's a pain. So you can kind of gently push it backward to get that needle back out of your fabric, and then kind of gently shut it by feeling. And sometimes you can save it, but sometimes you just have to have to start again. So just go slow and try not to pinch that safety pin as you're going through. As you get toward the end, we want to stop before we go all the way through. So that's why I'm kind of going little bit by little bit, because we want to get right to the end here, if you can see that. But the elastic's right there, and we're gonna go and put a few basting stitches right there, and then we just pull this the rest of the way through, take off your safety pin, and then with the elastic right here at the edge, you'll baste again to secure the stitches, because we don't want our elastic to be able to pull out when we're using it in our bag. So we wanna go ahead and do that. So I'm gonna go do that, and I'll be right back. Now that my elastic is inserted and basted, we're going to go ahead and place it onto our interior piece. We want to make sure that the pocket is not below this line. So we're going to find the center of your pocket. You want to kind of pull that elastic because your center will be kind of squished up. So find it and mark it with a pin. Okay. We want to do the same on our interior lining piece. line up those edges. Find that center. I like to make a teeny snip right there so I know that is where it is, but we'll also put a pin there just to have good reference. Okay? So now remember, we're going to line these up. We want to make sure that our pocket does not come below that line. So now that I have it secured, I'm just going to pin it around. You want that corner to be nice and smooth, so there'll be extra because of our depth we added to the corners. So you just kind of push it down and keep it out of the way so that you can kind of go straight. And then you're going to want your bag to kind of be straight at the sides. So you just want to stretch that elastic a little, plus that's going to keep things in it because you've kind of pulled it a little bit more snug right there. So now everything in this pocket should stay in. Now we're going to go edge stitch with 1/8 of an inch seam allowance from this corner around to the other. We're going to use a 3.5 width stitch when we do this process. Remember to back stitch at each corner, or you could even make a triangle to add extra security. I'm going to add rivets here, so I won't add the triangles. All right, if you're making the slip pocket, you're going to take your pocket and you're going to fold it right sides together, and then you're going to press. Now, we want to leave a hole at the bottom of this pocket so we can turn it right sides out. So you're just going to sew from the short end to right about here, and again the short end to right about here. You can mark this with pins, with clips, with your marker, whatever you want to do. I'm just going to eye it because I know how wide I want it to be able to turn it right side out. Then after we're done using a 3/8 of an inch seam allowance here, we're going to cut down the seam allowance to 1/4 of an inch. I'm going to use pinking shears. You can use whatever method suits you best. Then we'll meet back over here to continue our steps. Okay, now that you've stitched around, left your opening, and trimmed your seam allowance, you can clip your corners like that. So you want to get close to that corner stitch but not through it. This helps to reduce bulk at the corners. Okay. Technically, I was supposed to leave this part of the seam allowance at a 3/8 of an inch and just trim around. And I wasn't thinking it went all the way around. So I think it'll be fine because it'll be pressed under and stitched, but just so that you know, this one you can leave the 3/8 of an inch seam allowance and just trim the rest. So now we're just going to turn it right side out through our hole. Just want to be careful not to rip your stitches. I like to go to a corner and then just like press it in with my finger so that it gets that nice, you know, edge. And then you can also use like a pencil or a turning tool or whatever you like to just really get those corners nice. When we're done here, I'm going to give it a good press just because I like everything nice and crisp. Just find it really makes the bag look good. Okay. So this is where my opening is. Just going to press the unstitched seam allowance to the inside. Okay. And then you're going to press your pocket piece. Now we're just going to edge stitch right across the top edge with an 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. Okay, when you have completed your pockets, if you are doing them at all, this is what they'll look like. You don't necessarily have to have rivets in, but if you want them, they're just a nice decorative addition. Plus they add a little security to your pockets. I'm going to now move on to the handle. So you'll have 2 vinyl handle pieces if you are using vinyl. If you're using fabric, you can just follow along the tutorial. You'll be folding it in kind of like bias tape and then sewing the edges. For vinyl, we're going to place the pieces right sides together, and then you can pin them. I'm just going to clip them. You can clip them down one edge, and then you're just going to sew along each edge with 1/8 of an inch edge stitch. I'm going to go do that, and then I'll be back to show you where to place it. Now we're going to place our handle on our bag. On the back, I have made my markings because I didn't want to mark on the right side of my fabric. So this is actually my handle placement marking. So I folded it in half like this and like kind of pinched so that I would be able to see that on the other side. And then just to the inside of that edge, I made a mark. And then my handle will go just past each mark like that. Okay? And so I've already made my marks or my holes for my rivets on my handles. So my plan is to just push those marks through, mark it. You might have to pull it up and see if your marks went through, but I can see them. Okay, so now I'm gonna go push the holes through these 4 spots, and then I'll be able to put my rivets on to secure my handle. If you are sewing your handle, that's fine. You'll just place it like I showed you how to find the placement. If you're not using vinyl, it would be fine to have drawn it on your fabric or to use pins for reference. But you can go ahead and just stitch a square like the instructions say with an X through the middle, and that'll really secure the ends for you. Once you have your handle attached, we are going to move on to our zipper. I have cut my zipper according to the dimensions required in the pattern for the medium-sized bag, and then I have measured 1 inch from the edge on each side and marked that. Started a mark on one side with right sides together. So where this mark is, we're going to align that with the corner. Now we're going to just repeat this process for the other side. Now we're going to align the interior on top of the exterior right sides together. If you did the elastic pocket, you want it to go right sides together with the handle. And you are just going to match each corner to corner, just like that. And the zipper will be sandwiched between the 2 layers. Now we repeat that for the other side. Okay, now that you have the interior and exterior right sides facing with the zipper sandwiched between, we're going to go and sew with a 3/8 of an inch seam allowance along each side. we're gonna take our side exterior piece and our side interior piece, and we're gonna place them right sides together, and then we're just going to pin and clip them all around, and we're gonna sew up the short ends across one long end and then the short end. So we're gonna leave this big long end open to turn it right side out. Now we're going to trim our seam allowance down to 1/4 of an inch and then clip across the corners. Now we're going to sew around all 4 corners with an 1/8 of an inch edge stitch. Now that we have that done, we want our wrong interior side to be facing us. We have our 2 side panels, and we need to find the center at the bottom for each of these. So I think I might just do a clip this time, just like that. Okay, and then repeat for the other. Okay, then we want to also find the center of our bag. There we go. And then find the other one. Okay. Now that we know where the center is, we want to put our interior fabric right sides together with our bag. Remove this clip and clip that there. Okay, if you want to clip more, you can. It's fine. And then to repeat that, so match those centers up, and then you can just secure that. I'll add another clip on each side. Now we're just going to go and sew across and back stitch at the end of each. Okay, so this is how our side flaps will look. Now we're going to put the zipper pulls on. So starting on one end, you want to align your markings. Okay, and we're just gonna put this one first, and then that one. See that your zippers line up. Okay, I'm gonna pull it all the way through, and this is gonna seem really silly, but we're gonna pull the zipper off. Okay, and you might be like, why did you just pull your zipper pull off? You just put it on. Well, that's because we had to have this closed, and so now I'm gonna put the zipper back on so that it's in the center, but the rest remains closed. Okay, and you just want that in the center. If you want your zipper to close both ways, you can put another zipper pull from this way to the middle, and that kind of sounds fun, so I think I'm gonna try it. I have another zipper. I'll just pull that away a little, and it's easier if you trim a little off. So let's do that. Then you just feed it on the long side and then the short side. And then you just pull it like that. We have 2 zippers and they can be in the middle. I like that. Okay, so now we're going to move to the next step. All right, with your exterior up and your zipper in the center, you can go and sew a couple stitches across to your zipper tape at each end to secure it. If you want, after you trim away the excess after sewing it, you could take a little lighter or a match and kind of burn the edges, and that will prevent this fraying from happening if you choose. So I'm gonna go do that really quick and then I'll show you how it looks. Now I have both zippers sewn with stitches, trimmed, and I used a lighter on the ends to prevent them from fraying. So now we're going to unzip, just like that. You can see it like that, but we're actually going to put it with the wrong side down, like this, okay? Keep your zipper pull kind of up, and then I'll show you this way. Then we're going to sew this just like this. So this is what we've clipped together. Right, here's the back, the interior, and this is your side piece. And we've just kind of sandwiched it together and clipped it. You can make sure your zipper pull goes to the inside. Okay, and you're going to stitch across here as close to the zipper as you can get, and across here as close to the zipper as you can get. Okay, and we're going to repeat that for the other side as well. So let's go sew these sides and then we will move to the next step. We're almost done. I'm excited to see how it's going to turn out. Now we're going to take the side seams and just pull this zipper up about like that far on each end. Then we're going to sew using these stitches we just did, but we're going to sew all the way across and off the edge here. And then we're going to sew all the way across and off the edge here. Essentially, you're just crossing your zipper right here at the very end. Okay, we're going to do that on both sides. So just pull that zipper up and then sew across the diagonal, just continuing those stitches. So you can see now, there's where I crisscrossed my zipper. Right there and right there. Okay, so then you can just turn the bag right side out, like that. Push on it at the zipper to make sure that there's no holes. If there is a hole, that's okay. Just go ahead and turn it back right side out and then sew back over it. Okay? The next thing we're going to do is finish these edges. For this step, we're going to unzip our zipper a little. Okay, so you can just trim your zipper and trim down your seam allowance. This next part is a little tricky. I had a little bit of trouble, so you're going to fold over your bias binding. You're going to place it in the sewing machine, and I recommend using a zigzag stitch. If you want to use a straight stitch, you can, but I found with trial and error that the zigzag stitch was the easiest and looked the nicest for this process. You're going to go toward the center zipper with your zipper kind of already zipped up a little, and you're going to keep just manipulating your bag as flat as you can get it so that you can kind of turn when you get to this tricky spot by the zipper. Just go slow, take it little bit by little bit if you need, and then as you go over the zipper, you can kind of start to turn your bag so that you can go to the next side. Fold over the other end of your bias binding, line it up, and then sew to the end. Back stitch. All right, so that's step one. You're going to take a look now and make sure that you caught all of the bag, and then we're going to fold it to the top part of the bag now. You can use clips or pins, however you want to secure it. I'm going to use clips. And then you really want to just hold that binding in place with those while you're sewing. So you just kind of remove them slowly as you go, but this will help it to stay on top and not to pull down. Again, I'm going to use the zigzag stitch. Through my different trial and errors doing this process, the zigzag stitch worked the best, and I found looked the nicest. If my fabric shifted, it didn't really show. Just remove your clips as you go, and remember to go slow and keep manipulating your bag so that it's out of the way and that your bag is as flat as possible as you're going around this binding. Sometimes it might want to gather or pucker, but you just have to kind of keep moving the clips and binding. Back stitch, pull it off, and that's how it looks. Right? If you unzip it, it'll look like that. Okay, it's just a tricky part of the bag, so do that for the other side, and then you can turn it right side out by pressing that binding up into the corners really well, and then kind of squishing the seam on the outside to give it a sort of pressed look. Just do the other side, same way. All right, press again. And you should be just about ready to move to the next step. All right, what do you think? Isn't that fun? Now we want to sew a few stitches to the corner of our bag. We press the sides up and clip, and then we're going to get a needle and thread and just hand stitch a few stitches on each side to secure the side to the inside of the bag, so that when it's open, it'll stay open like this. You want to start on the lining piece, but you don't want to go through the outside. And then just make a few stitches through the side piece, always going through the interior of the bag when you go to the bag side to secure. That way you don't make the marks on the outside of the bag. Now your bag is finished. What do you think? So this is how my bags turned out. This is the small size and this is the medium size. The small size is really cute and it's perfect for storing all of my weights and my clips, my rotary cutter, my marking pen, my scissors, and I keep this over on my cutting table by my projector, and it's great because it keeps everything handy for me. I accidentally put the pockets on the outside when I made this bag, and I thought it was gonna be like a problem, but I kept going because sometimes mistakes can turn into happy accidents, and I feel like that's exactly what happened. I love that they're on the outside because it keeps all of this space open, and then I have storage on the outside. So if you're interested, you can totally do that. It just means that you won't want to put a handle on because the pockets are in that spot. But I will zip it up and show you how it looks zipped up. I think it's really cute, but okay. So that's what it looks like zipped up. So small compared to medium right there. Large is just a little bigger. And if I were to have it zipped up on the table, then, you know, I could still kind of store some things on the outside. I just liked it open. I thought it was kind of a great little basket over on my cutting area, so that's how I'm gonna use it. So I would love to know, do you plan to sew this? What do you plan to use it for? What are the things you're excited to put in it? Are you going to gift it? I feel like this makes such a great gift because it pretty much works for anyone who has a hobby, or you know, they want to take snacks somewhere, maybe to kids' games, or you know, taking little small toys with you along in the car in case your kids get restless while you're going places. It just has so many uses. So I hope that you enjoyed sewing this with me today, and I can't wait to see all of your bags. Until next time.